Picture this. You're a merchant in early 1800s Europe trying to sell your goods just 400 kilometers away. Sounds simple, right? But along the way, you cross 11 customs checkpoints, pay taxes at each one, and juggle 5 different currencies. That was Europe back then, a tangled web of kingdoms, barriers, and local rules. So here's the question. How did this fragmented continent eventually become a land of powerful nation-states? The answer lies in the rise of nationalism, a force driven not just by armies, but by merchants, teachers, students, and revolutionaries. In this video, we'll trace how a divided Europe began to dream and fight for unity, identity, and self-rule. Let's take a look at early 19th century Europe. Who held the power? It was the landed aristocracy, a small but mighty class of wealthy landowners. They owned sprawling estates, spoke French in high society, and married within elite circles to keep control tight. But beneath them, the vast majority, peasants and serfs, working hard, living poor, and with no say in how society ran. Now, here's where things begin to shift. Enter the middle class, a rising force born from industrialization. As towns expanded and factories grew, so did merchants, factory owners, professionals, and educated thinkers. Unlike the aristocrats, this group wasn't just rich, they were ambitious. They didn't want just wealth. They wanted rights, freedom, and a nation they could help shape. And that's where the idea of nationalism started gaining real strength, not in palaces, but in factories, markets, and classrooms. Let's pause and ask, what did liberal mean back then? It comes from the Latin word liber, meaning free. For the rising middle class of 19th century Europe, liberalism was a bold new vision, freedom for the individual, equality before the law, a government based on consent, not royal command, and the right to own private property. But here's the catch, it wasn't truly equal for all. In revolutionary France, only property-owning men could vote. Women and the poor, excluded. Now switch to the economic front. Imagine being a merchant in 1833, trying to travel from Hamburg to Nuremberg. You pass through 11 customs checkpoints and pay 5% duty at each one. That's not trade, that's a nightmare. So what did they do? They formed the Zollverein, a customs union that removed tariff barriers and created a common market. Liberal nationalism, then, wasn't just about ideas, it was about removing the obstacles to building a stronger, united Europe. After Napoleon's defeat in 1815, Europe's kings and emperors gathered at the Congress of Vienna. Their mission? Restore the old order. These rulers believed in conservatism, the belief that tradition, monarchy, and social hierarchy must be protected at all costs. But here's the twist, they also saw the power of Napoleon's reforms. So while they brought back monarchies, they quietly modernized their states, building stronger armies, better infrastructure, updated laws, and more efficient economies. Yet, they feared one thing, revolutionary ideas. Leaders like Metternich of Austria saw liberalism as a threat. He enforced strict censorship, banned free speech, and placed spies in newspapers and classrooms. But as history shows us, you can silence voices, but you can't silence ideas. And across Europe, those ideas were already gathering strength in secret. While Europe's monarchs were busy restoring old powers, another force was quietly rising, the revolutionaries. These weren't rulers. They were young thinkers, students, and activists determined to build a new world. Among them stood one bold name, Giuseppe Mazzini of Italy. At just 24 years old, he joined the Carbonari, a secret group fighting for Italian freedom. Soon after, he founded Young Italy, and later, young Europe, youth-led networks dreaming of independent, democratic nation-states. Mazzini believed that nations were not just borders on a map, they were natural communities of people, united by shared identity. He saw a future where Italy would be a republic, not a collection of kingdoms. His ideas spread quickly and scared those in power. Austrian Chancellor Metternich even called him the most dangerous enemy of our social order. And he wasn't alone. All across France, Germany, Poland, and Switzerland, secret societies were growing, preparing for a wave of revolutions that would soon shake the continent. Let's break it down. How did nationalism gain ground in Europe? Here's a simple 4-step story you can remember. Step 1. The aristocracy ruled, but the middle class began rising, powered by trade, education, and industry. Step 2. They embraced liberal ideas, freedom, equality before law, and open markets. Step 3. Conservative rulers struck back, trying to crush these ideas after 1815. Step 4. But revolutionaries, like Mazzini, quietly worked to build democratic, united nations. So, here's a question for you. If you were a merchant, teacher, or worker in 1830s Europe, what kind of Europe would you fight for? The old empire or a nation of citizens? The rights we often take for granted today, voting, free speech, equality under law, all began as whispers in secret societies and bold pamphlets. But those whispers turned into movements. And those movements transformed Europe. The making of nationalism wasn't just about politics. It was a social revolution that changed how people saw themselves and their countries. In our next episode, we'll watch these ideas burst into action during the powerful and widespread revolutions of 1848. Stay with us. History is just getting started.